Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 2, Episode 19, The Man Under the Hood. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. Another episode I absolutely loved. There is a little bit in the way of deleted scenes. So basically, on the Blu-ray, basically there is one where we see after Slade has attacked the lair, Felicity acknowledges that, a lot of people would say it's horrible down here, but it was the first place she felt that felt like home to her, and now that's gone because of Slade. And then there is one after, let's see, Laurel leaves after, talking to Quentin in the hospital bed in the prison, and in the episode we just see that Sarah and Quentin are talking, and there's a deleted scene where we briefly see, basically just that she tries to find out what, Laurel asked about, and he says, I forget the exact words, but he just covers for it. He doesn't want her thinking about it. He knows that she's Canary, so it's not that he, but he doesn't want her to worry about Laurel finding out who Arrow is. Holy crap, no, yeah, wait, thinking about it, he knows that Laurel knows, and he doesn't want Sarah to know that Laurel knows. Yeah. There's as of the end of this episode, one could draw a Venn diagram of the Lance family and whose secret identity who knows. And I'm here for it. Yeah, I think that does cover. So yeah, gonna try to keep this more or less chronological. And I guess I'll just before I get to it, I really appreciate the way that they are. Yeah, it's moving along. There's like 4 episodes left of the season. By the end of this episode, he does indeed have his army, and yeah, holy crap. Let's see. I don't know that I have a better thing to. I didn't watch a lot of different YouTube today, so I think the one I'm gonna recommend you watch. Let's see. It's a dead domain video called AI George Washington, the longest of the AI George Washington videos. They uploaded, let's see. I think they did one stream, and then they did at least one highlights video. I forget if there's more than one highlight, like the trimmed down, but the longest of them at the, I think, 1 hour and 42-minute mark or so. Jordan does such a phenomenal impression of Asmongold. Like, you have to see it to believe it. Like, I really admire. They are so freaking good at these. Like, there's that one. There's Alex Jones. There's just, yeah, absolutely, truly spot on. Like, you can, like, I was not surprised the first time that I heard that Jordan had done some stand-up, because, like, it really is. Yeah, moving on. I think, was there, I think those are the only things about the, yeah, so, yeah, I really love when this show pushes Felicity out of her comfort zone, because it's just like, there's again this thing of, like, she's adorkable, but she also does really come through for them, yeah, and this thing of, like, the eye holes aren't right. Is anybody else having this problem? And they went, I know we do our thing. This is the worst plan yet. It's your plan. I know, but I didn't think you'd listen. Yeah, and genuinely very clever that, because they said at the end of the episode before this one, we're going to take the fight to him. And now they're, yeah, it's genuinely very clever going to the building and taking it out so that the yeah, it can't be used. And I quite liked it was very pointed the way that Isabel responded, saying cowards and you will, will get you. That was not just like communicating, hey, we like, it's the kind of thing where like a CEO maybe needs to issue a statement to make clear, to reassure shareholders or something. But no, she was very clearly communicating directly to them. And yeah, very, very cool. Kind of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood at the earliest. I only played a couple after that one. The last one I played was the one called 3, which for some reason was the 5th in the series. But yeah, multiple assassins taking out several targets in close proximity. That was really cool. Loved that they did it in a, one take for at least some of it. It obviously makes it more difficult to, it takes more planning to do that. Yeah. And the yeah, really appreciated that they underline, not only do we see them clearly only knock out the right, and obviously for that it doesn't really fit the Assassin's Creed reference, but the and that one guy who's inside, they carry him out of there, and then as they're leaving they say thermals confirm no one is still inside the building, because this is a kind of, when this episode came out, see, there was this thing called 9/11 that kind of changed how you depict scenes like that particular one in American media. And they knew, okay, we got to be careful if we want people to still be on the side of the yeah, of Team Arrow. Yeah, more careful about not, accidentally, no collateral damage. More careful about that than the U.S. military a lot of the time. And I think that does bring us to, so the I think maybe the next thing was but yeah, and it's the kind of thing that we haven't seen Team Arrow do before, so they really are being pushed, into completely new, you know yeah, doing things that we've never seen them do before. And I think that does bring us to, so Moira and Oliver both signed the document, but Thea has to as well. And yeah, really appreciate the way they set that up. And yeah, holy crap. Let's see. I think the next thing was maybe when the oh, right, and we also have the thing with, I mean, we're on the back foot here. We don't even know where the next attack is coming, and then they do that thing I love, one of the many, when media does, because what they cut to answers that question for the audience, but not for the characters. They don't know, but to us, and it's paying off, because we saw it was even in the previously on, Slade told her that, Oliver's Arrow, and it's the kind of thing of like, so I'm slightly unsure if it's been, because like they say that Roy left days ago. Sometimes there's a week between 2 episodes in a row, and also we have the yeah, would they really wait an entire week to destroy after Isabel takes over? I mean, yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but it's certainly been several days. And yeah, she's got her conspiracy board, her Michael Scofield, thing up to do research, and we just need Jenny Nichols explaining how, watching which one was it? Was it Vampire Diaries? It was one of those shows. How watching that when you're like out of it because you have, what was it, fever or something, doesn't make a difference from just watching it normally. That was a really solid video. I know it sounds silly and hypocritical for me to say, but I don't watch every 4-hour video, and I don't even I feel very little about that show. Like there's a couple of the actors that I know and other stuff that's, but when Jenny Nichols posts, I watch. I think that does bring us to the but yeah, she's had days at least to research, and yeah, she's smart. She has all these news articles. She's met him, both hims, and there is a lot to, I mean, just for one thing, and they addressed this early in the first season. Aren't people gonna notice that, the vigilante and, you know Oliver Queen, the vigilante makes his first appearance just as Oliver Queen makes his first reappearance, in 5 years. So yeah, that he took steps to hide it, but there's only so much. Dig um, wearing the suit that on I guess at least 2 occasions. Come to think of it, once with Moira, but yeah, she could probably deduce, oh, he must have just had someone else wear the suit. That's not. It's the kind of thing, like, if you don't have enough to, yeah, it's one of those things where we can accept, both back when people bought it and now that it's like that she is seeing through it. I think that does bring us to the first of the flashbacks, if I recall, and yeah, very clever. Yeah. So Anatoly is very much about an eye for a research project. Slightly apropos, watched about half of it's right on the tip of my tongue, Eastern Promises, with my dad earlier. So yeah, had no idea that these two would line up so well. But yeah, I think that does. Yeah, and he says that he can help. He won't live long, or prosper, but yeah, he'll give them, he'll help them cure the miracle. And I think that actually brings us to the, let's see. Crap. I'm struggling to recall if that's, I think that might be when Oliver confronts Isabel. And I quite appreciate, she says 60 seconds to start talking. And yeah, I mean, I didn't time it, but I think that might have been around 60 seconds before the guards were indeed there. And yeah, I appreciated getting a little bit of backstory there. And, so I am not the biggest fan of the woman scorned trope, but I do think, one thing that works well is that, it's the, let's see. So there's one of the things is that it was not just like an affair. She thought that this would really, or if it had worked, it would have greatly improved her life. She would have been in a, yeah, yeah, instead it was all these years later that, yeah, I'm not 100% sure exactly when when Isabel was with Robert, but Robert died about 6 years before this episode, so at least that long, and all that time she's been working towards getting the company that she feels owed. And I think, and certainly, it is one of those things where, under capitalism, like for a lot of women, if they are not able to, you know, partner with a man who can really, make sure they have a good life, they might struggle, which is why we need more civil rights for women, more proper protections under the law, and dismantling a lot of the harm patriarchy has done. But yeah, so, I hope that that's where they're going with it. And certainly she doesn't come across as just like pure evil. I'm not necessarily saying that I expect her to be redeemed, but, I mean, the Count was, significantly more evil. And yeah, I think that covers. Yeah, and she tells Oliver that, of course your father knew that he wasn't the biological father. He went on Maury. And I think that pretty much gets us to, yeah, come to think of it, I think that scene might have been later. Whatever. Yeah. Maybe this is around the place where he goes to talk to her, and yeah, you have the thing, she says, "Thea Queen, who's that?" And the yeah, really, really strong scene, and one can understand why. Like, she genuinely, she feels very betrayed by the family. And that was another great bit of planning. During part of the scene, Thea is putting liquor on shelves, and the camera moves from in front of her to the side as she also moves, and Oliver moves with, very, very nicely done. The timing was clearly planned to make sure that, because it would have been really awkward if the camera or Thea got ahead of each other instead of following each other. And yeah, very smooth, very nicely done. And yeah, I, right. Part of it is, I think this is also the scene where, yeah, Thea notes, you're my half brother, and so was Tommy, who I tried to kiss. Am I a Star Wars character? And that is actually, it is kind of fun. There was a line in the first season where I forget if it was Tommy or Thea who said it, but one of them said to the other, "It's almost like we're siblings," because they've known each other for years because of the relationship between Tommy and Oliver. And yeah, she notes both of her biological parents have caused a lot of death, so that's, yeah, like, it was one thing when at least her father wasn't. Yeah. I think that does bring us to, so yeah, back at the lair. I thought they did a really great job of, as soon as I saw him there, I was like, there's literally no way that this is his ultimate plan. There's something else going on here. But I was also really, like, the action was really, really cool and engaging. And yeah, indeed, he was not there to kill them. He took the skeleton key, and then he wanted to show, hey, I can, break into your place and mess stuff up for you just like you can, against me. And yeah, I quite appreciate how everyone gets a run at Slade in that scene. And let's see. I think that might bring us to the let's see. Yeah, very cool. The thing about the yeah, the idea that he grabbed the skeleton key, which was just reintroduced, at the start of the episode when they use it themselves, and then we have there's the line about where else other than Queen Consolidated, where would they store something that and again the cut answers the question, and it's okay, I'm mixing up scenes. Those are two separate scenes now that I think about it. Yeah, because in between we also have Sarah has to go to the hospital because they do need to make sure about and the doctor assumes that her sister already knows you know this. Yeah, I believe it is accurate that I think there might be a thing about like you basically have to, if basically Sarah would have to specifically tell the doctor to keep something about her medical history from family members. And like Sarah was just leaving, she didn't think that there would be yeah. And of course, Laurel sees the scars, remembers Oliver's scars, knows that Oliver's the Arrow, realizes that Sarah must be Canary, and just, yeah, really nicely done. And you don't even need someone to say it out loud. You just have these flashbacks and the acting talent of, I'm afraid I forget her name, but yeah, the girl who plays Laurel, the woman who plays Laurel, fantastic. And yeah, and that changes things because in a complicated way, because she finally has Sarah back, but she's also these vigilantes. She's not founder of the fan club or anything, and yeah, like does this let's see. I think by the end of the episode, I kind of got the sense that she was going to, but it's possible it'll change. But yeah, it seemed like she is going to not try to stop Oliver. She says something like she supports him or something like that. He's important to her. Quentin helped her realize. Yeah, I think that brings us to so yeah, they realize about the skeleton key and we get the answer. And yeah, so Felicity already met these two. Oh right, that's yeah. And before they meet back up with them, we also have the yeah. So and I will say I mean, since there's a connection between them and Barry, I could imagine we'll see them again. I hope so. They're both Caitlin, Katie. Wait, it was something like that. Both her and Cisco. Yeah, I like them already. And yeah, this thing of yeah, there's a couple of references to characters and such. And the thing about are you getting a bad vibe off this guy? And it was really nicely done because like yeah, he's just standing there menacingly, and it's like yeah, I was thinking either he's working for Slade or Slade just as oh yeah, there he goes falling over. And very nicely on him spitting up a little blood using the TV-14 rating, and very clever about like she's quick thinking, and meanwhile Slade's going there saying, well, since you run, I'm gonna make this slow. And she stands there to lure him in, basically being the bait. And they manage to actually, Cisco fires that thing and it was also, maybe I say it too much. I love when TV shows do this. When she's standing there, because like she said, please tell me you can make that work. And the next time we see her, she's standing there and she looks scared. And it's like, does that mean Cisco got it working and she's bait? Or did he not? And she's like, oh crap, now we're not going to have time to get it to work. Really nicely done. And the moment that we see Cisco fire, she jumps out of the way and he fires it, and it's like, oh, okay, he made it. Really, really nicely done. Because like, yeah, he's nerding out about this stuff. And yeah. Let's see, and they so they make a run for it, but he does get the thing he came for. And we also see Laurel followed the two heroes, right? And also, or anti-heroes. And it was also great, the thing about, oh, it was a silly motorcycle mishap. A guy drove, hit a red light. Pressing charges? No, we're not. Which, like, really? Like, you got hurt. Sarah's injured, needed medical attention. You're not gonna press charges on that? Like, but obviously, like, they, we, the audience, know why. And it just, further, I mean, Laurel was just about sure about Oliver by that point, but it also, helps confirm Sarah as Canary. I think that does bring us to the... Yeah, I think that's when Quentin, they're in the cell, and, one of the guards walks up and, I appreciate the thing about, it's very nice of you. And while I'm in here, you can just call me Quentin. And then, one of the inmates, takes out a guard or two and then comes for Quentin. And yeah, like, holy crap. I mean, Quentin does manage to, hit back a little bit, but obviously, the other guy has range in the, because he's the only one of the two with a weapon. And yeah, Quentin ends up in the is it called an infirmary when it's a prison? I forget. And I think that brings us to the, let's see, I feel like that brings us to when the when Laurel talks to the Arrow, and is trying to, she says, I already know. And then, Sarah tells Laurel, it's Dad. And yeah, really nicely done on, because like for the entire episode, we're wondering what exactly Laurel is going to do, because it is a mixed, she did try to have him arrested, and then there's also times where, he helped her, and yeah, so it's and I appreciated that, yeah, like I mentioned, yeah, I already went over where they land on it by the end of the episode, but the yeah, so then we have, Felicity talking to, yeah, the the two from the lab, and we hear a little about Barry's bonds, among others, with Iris, and yeah, Felicity going like, he's in a coma and he's already moving on. Poor Felicity. And yeah, I like the thing about, it's a secret. Shut up. Is it secret for, what kind of secret? They kind of have to keep. Nice try though, Felicity. It was worth a shot, What kind of secret? Well, it's military grade. And let's see, yeah. And the thing about, does Cisco have to keep it? And Cisco be like he looks like he would love to tell, he wants to geek out about how cool this thing is and what it can do and such, and yeah. I mean, the moment I saw his shirt, I was kind of, yeah, that's a cool shirt. I like that. Yeah, I think that does bring us. Let's see. So yeah, the in the actual in the infirmary, they talk, and yeah, I thought it worked really well. Um, Quentin, saying, "I took the mask off, and it's my father, my brother. Nope, that's a different story." And yeah, he explains, don't tell me, because he has a family, and he needs to be a symbol, and yeah, let's see, and also really appreciated. So yeah, Laurel strong arms into having, him released, which, we can understand why, and there is some truth to, they should have been more careful about him. And I like the line about, there is no such thing as protective custody in Iron Heights. And it is an actual problem. There's a huge problem in American prisons where people are not kept safe. And yeah. And I know, some people hear that and say, well, they broke the law. Some of them are for nonviolent offenses, and some of them literally, like, helped people. The thing they did might have been against the law, and some of them are attacked while they're just, like, in, temporary, while their case is being dealt with. They end up being found not guilty, and they might still face violence. Now but yeah, and the DA, I think, is says, word of advice, choose your battles. Not all of them are going to be as easy as this one. And that's the thing, like, she's kind of power tripping right now. She's, to be fair, this time it was for good. It was to protect Quentin. Last time it was for job. It was somewhat more selfish. But yeah, this is a pattern. Like, once is maybe just, need to get it out of her system or something, but this is starting to be the way she is now, and that could really become a problem. And I think that does, and I did also appreciate, yeah, they did their research. That is, what she said to the DA does make sense as something that a lawyer would be able to, the yeah, I mean, it's not like she just said please or something. She actually pointed to how I think there is a chance she would win that case, or at the very least create so much bad publicity that it would, be extremely damaging to the reputation. And a lot of lawyers, they really need to maintain their reputation. I feel like, let's see, that covers that scene. Yeah, I think the next thing was, yeah. So, yeah, Oliver tries to talk to Thea, and, there's a phone call, and he has to see, what is Felicity, he even says this is not a good time, and she explains, 30 or 40 minute window, and Thea's just gone when he turns around, and it's, yeah, that classic, comic thing of having to choose between the different, the alter ego and the regular life. Let's see. I feel like there's one more thing. Let's see. Right, and also the thing about, thank you for agreeing to talk. You're talking, I just agreed to listen. And yeah, the thing about, so using the machine to, so now he does indeed have all these guys who's got and the one woman who's got miracle in their veins. Very clever because, like, again, they are evolving the way that, when we first saw the miracle in the present day, it was, well, it sure is killing a lot of people, but every so often someone survives and gets extremely strong, Now it's because so yeah, we understand why it took more time, why there wasn't already an army much earlier in this season, and because they've built it up so much, like the fact, holy crap. And yeah, I think basically the only way, if they are going to have to do the cure that Ivo spoke of. And I can imagine we're going to see more of them getting to the cure in the flashbacks over the coming episodes. I think I feel like there's at least one flashback in between the scenes, so let's do that now. So yeah, at first it looks like Sarah is indeed going to shoot Ivo, and then Oliver grabs the gun. And I did appreciate Ivo, like, well, I guess this is it, yeah. Because, there's that thing about, like, you know, the he wants a quick death. And, Oliver's like, you don't deserve a quick death. And I was like, deserve's got nothing to do with it. And then he starts monologuing, and they're like, no, let's nip that in the bud. And yeah, Oliver shoots Ivo. Not the first time that he's taken a life. And at this point, he's trying to prevent Sarah from having to take lives. And we know, it's bitterly ironic because in the present day, like, she has taken lives in the time that they were separated. So yeah. Have I mentioned? I think I really appreciate the way that Sarah, she's got this kind of girl next door smile and charm that I think really works for the character. Just yeah. And I think that brings us, let's see. That might have been it for that flashback. Right, I did appreciate how frustrated Anatoly was when he was told that he can't torture. And again, like, we can understand where he's coming from. And again, I mean, he didn't appear in this episode, but the priest did not try to torture, And I think, and I also appreciated the fact that Oliver doesn't try to talk Anatoly out of it. It's only when Ivo says that he can help because of the cure. I mean, they already said that miracle is a miracle cure, so it's the miracle cure. And yeah, let's see. Let's see. There's definitely at least one more thing. Right, I appreciated Felicity saying, please don't, don't go, don't come. And is it clear? I was making a reference to Kamala Harris. That wasn't supposed to be like a euphemism. Anyway, I really hope the Democrats will, at some point, present a more electable candidate. At some point, Trump is gonna. Well, I guess we're gonna see if there's even gonna be an election next time. he said that it would be fixed. He stood in front of a crowd and said, you only have to vote for me one more time in 2024. The next time it will be fixed. That is a strange thing to say for someone who's at least at times trying to convince us that they're not trying to rig elections. I mean, if what he meant was that it won't matter if he wins again, which already is like, I mean, do you mean like, are you running again? If you think you're going to win, you're not supposed to be able to run more than twice. But like, there's other ways you could have worded that than using the word fix, which like every so often Trump engages in like this kind of gangster speak. And that's how, yeah, you know, like, yeah, the hypothetically, and I'm not trying to be his speechwriter here, although I do appreciate, oh wait, was that him? No, that was one of the, was that Melania maybe? There was, you know, that trolley speechwriter who got one of them to say, he will never ever give you up, he will never ever let you down. Like, fair enough. That is like, yeah. But yeah, you know, just have Trump, instead of saying it will be fixed, you won't have to vote again, just say, even if you don't vote for the next Republican, we're going to make sure the country's in such good shape the Democrats can't screw it up again. Ugh, I feel dirty. I'm not saying the Democrats are perfect, but at least they're not frickin' Nazis. But but yes, I've been frustrated with the Democratic presidents. When was the last time there was a good one? I guess it was before Clinton. Anyway, I am getting off on such a tangent. Yes, let's see. So I think that brings us to when yeah, Oliver goes to the machine, and, you know, we see all the people hooked up to it, and he goes up, and it's Roy instead of Slade. That's so clever. Yeah, that's, you know, that's part of why he attacked the heart. You know, he made sure that yeah. And yeah, you know, Roy had basically given up. We get another reference to Bloodhaven. And yeah, he says, you know, if you know, stop the machine at this delicate point in the process, he will surely die. And Arrow arrows and goes like, don't call me Shirley. And yeah, I really appreciated the thing about, you know, if you could feel the power coursing through my veins, you wouldn't fear an arrow. And he's got, you know, like this arrow that there's these like little explosion things that stagger him, you know, stun lock him just long enough that he can, so very nicely done on that front. Yeah, I think that let's see, I feel like there's something else about that scene. Yeah, it was nice seeing Summer Glau with a pistol in her hand again. It's been a little while since I saw that in something new. And yeah, she again like holds her own against Oliver, like no small feat. I also really appreciate the line where she said Slade's training almost killed her. Like, yeah, I believe it. Right in the part where Slade said, remember who taught you your moves, kid. Because that's the thing, you know, that's part of what makes him so challenging. You know, what does Oliver know that Slade doesn't? Like, not all of it was taught by him, but, you know, even the stuff that he did, like some of it was Yao Fei, some of it was Shadow, but Slade knows that stuff too, you know, so very nicely done on that. And I think that does, yeah, very dramatic when Isabel was shot. And I have to admit, as much as I'm scared of how they're gonna, yeah, she is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, she somewhat already was, but now even more so. But I am glad that she's still on the show, even though, I mean, if they're going to be able to cure the miracle, I guess it's possible she won't be on it for much longer. But still, yeah, it was really, really cool. And seeing her, play it so evil, though, again, not as evil as, like, the Count. We understand where she's coming from, but yeah, she's got such a great, like, sly smile that can have a sinister, yeah. And but yeah, I thought it worked well that they had her with a gun, so that she, she is the way that she would not have been able to take out Oliver hand to hand. Not quite. But with a gun, that helps even out the odds. And then he, of course, manages to knock it out of her hands with arrows. And yeah, I think, yeah, I appreciated the thing about, I forget exactly who, but one of them asked, "You're not gonna take Miracle, are you, Oliver?" And, because, like, just to be absolutely clear, I was also thinking, it's probably the cure. But yeah, and we get the thing about, well, Oliver's ashamed because he had the chance to use the cure on Slade, but he tried to kill him. And yeah, like, it is very much, I think it works well that, so the first season, some of the problems were Robert's fault, and by extension Malcolm's, which means, by the end of the season, he's able to stop Malcolm, as such as it is anyway. But yeah, the let's see, yeah, and this season, some of the problems are kind of his own fault a little bit, and I think that works really well. It's very much his own past coming back to haunt him. Let's see, I think that brings us. So yeah, I thought it worked really well when Oliver tells, the other queens about, Dad knew. And, yeah, I would want to know that my father didn't kill my mother and didn't kill himself. That knowledge changes things. And she just says, well, that means the entire family has always lied to me, and it's such a, because that's the thing, like, technically that is one way to interpret that, yeah, but it does also mean that he did really love her, so yeah, very, very nicely done on that. It's the kind of thing where I wouldn't rule out that she may come around in the long term, but it's not this episode. And yeah, she's moving out, and she's gonna let the yeah, she's gonna let the family lose everything. And let's see, I think that brings us to, let's see. Right, and I appreciated that. Yeah, so they talk about, that they might be able to save Roy, but it's, he's really messed up from the, yeah. And yeah, I thought it worked really well. So yeah, by the end of the episode before this one, Team Arrow is going to fight back against, they're going to go on the offensive, whatever, against Slade. And now they have, something that can be really beneficial to it. But it's still, it's the first step. They still, now they have to recreate the cure that, in flashback, Ivo talked about how, that was also, I know where the cure is. Oh, okay, great. We're going to, we have a deal. And it's like, oh, but, did I mention that it's on the ship? Which, like, fair enough. Where else was it gonna be, you know? But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I liked him, saying, I was a good man once, a good doctor, a good husband. He didn't even take Miracle, but it still ruined him, you know? I mean, it's like they say, marijuana, not even once.